How's it, Rob?
Hey, good. How are you?
Great. Can't complain, man. Thank you so much for agreeing to chat to me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
I want to just say that I was very inspired when I heard about your story. It was actually last year where you were completely you were putting yourself out there and you were becoming a dad to so many people who didn't have dads. Some people who actually had dads, but they just say didn't have present fathers in their life. It was so powerful, my friend, and I just want to commend you on that and ask you, where did the whole idea come from?
Yeah, thanks for the kind words. I had no idea it would be what it has become. I thought I was just going to be helping, a handful of people, 30 or 40 people. I thought of the idea a few years ago. Yeah, and I again was just trying to make a nice tight place where you could come in and learn how to do some stuff. And I was trying to pass along advice that I've given to my own kids, because my kids are out of the house now, they're adults. And so I was kind of looking for something else to do.
Okay, so you're saying this was a bit of boredom.
Well, I don't know if it's that so much as a bit of a midlife crisis in a sense. I was like, my goal when I was a kid, because my dad left, when I
Yeah.
was 14. And so that's part of the backstory is my big goal in life was to raise great adults. And I felt like I accomplished that. And that was my goal. And I'm like, well, I'm still pretty young, I just turned 57. And so I was, uh, yeah, kind of a perfect storm as far as several different things converging at once. I went and visited Rome, my wife and I, in 2019. And, you go to Rome and it's an amazing city, but it was once the center of the world, right? I mean, and then now there's a lot of ruins and stuff. And so I kind of compared that to my own life. What was my legacy? And so, yeah, this thought came to mind, and I wasn't expecting it to be on such a grand scale like it is now, but yeah, I'm happy to be able to get back.
When you say grand scale, we're obviously talking. I see behind you, there's a book. Dad, how do I? And I mean, that's the power. Isn't that the power of internet? Isn't that the power of using the platforms in the best way possible? Because you've made a difference, and that difference has now inspired a book and many people. In fact, I saw a video or two the other day around people who have watched your videos and have really been inspired and they've been guided in the best way possible because they've never really received that. So this entire exercise, in my opinion, what you've done is you've given me a how to use your platform for the good reason, for the best reasons.
Yeah, I love it. I love the fact that I went viral for something healthy,
Yeah.
something
Yes.
positive, something wholesome. And I just want to keep that up because really, I'm trying to make the focus on my kids. I call my subscribers my kids. I want them, like you just said, I want to hear stories 10 years down the road of how they were inspired by this and look what I've become. Oh, that's awesome. All they needed was a little nudge and a little love, and away you go.
And away we go. Now the book is available. I can't wait. I just hope that book is available in South Africa sometime soon because I think people need to get their hands on it. And I just wanted to just commend you on that. It is great, but I want to ask you about your methodology in terms of picking these concepts because I've seen all of them. I've actually the toilet seat one particularly was interesting to me because I had a situation. So I want to say thank you because you got me sorted out with the toilet seat video. But then there were a
Nice.
myriad of different ones, including changing a tire, changing your oil. There were so many. There were things that were more motivational. How do you go about picking these topics?
Well, so if we back up a little bit, when I talked to my daughter about this channel several years ago, I pictured one of my kids in the other room saying, "Dad, how do I?" And that's how I came up with the name. And then when I talked to her too further, I said, I don't want to have a channel where I'm only just running around showing people how to fix things. I would like the ability to share my heart a little bit and pass along some dad wisdom. And so when my channel went viral, I was allowed that where, I just had to punt because I didn't have any bandwidth. I was being reached out to by so many different media sources. And so I just basically said, thank you. And I kind of poured my heart out a little bit in that. And then I also said, I'm proud of you. And a lot of people have never heard I'm proud of you. And so that was touching a nerve with people. Yeah, so I'm so thankful that, and I've read children's books now,
I saw
I
those.
kind of, yeah, kind of trying to give you the whole dad experience, because that was something that was important to me when raising my own kids.
In South Africa, we're actually heading toward Father's Day, which was the premise for this conversation with you. I thought you were the most inspirational person for this subject matter, and this is why I got you on the Zoom call. So, your next steps in terms of looking at the world in 2021, kids these days, the world has changed completely since you got started. What are some of the narratives, some of the stories, some of the things, the skill sets that you believe modern kids need to learn from good old dads like yourself?
So I think some of the stuff, we get caught up in the everyday stuff and go, wait, I have a choice to not do this. And it's, like what comes to my mind is our smartphones. You look around and everybody, including myself, you get sucked into this amazing thing that you have at your fingertips. And meanwhile, life is passing you by. You get in a vortex of, oh, I got to watch that video, oh, and then I got to watch that video, and pretty soon the day's over. I'm trying to encourage people to get in, learn some things that you don't know how to do, and get out. Go outside, go play. We need to kind of rethink that, like I said. And it kind of comes down to you having that setting that boundary and making that choice for yourself and doing it differently, so that you don't go, boy, I sure wasted a lot of time on my phone, instead of getting to know people and hanging out with people. And, that's more important in life.
I love that narrative. I think it's so powerful. I think it's more the practicality of how to pull yourself away from Candy Crush and pull yourself away from the streams of video you find on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of these other platforms. I think the true like, how do I believe, is the practical side of taking this little thing over here and saying, I need to stop. Okay, what's outside? Let me keep myself busy. I think that's where the practicality lies. And I mean, I think, just personally, board games for me are fantastic.
Yeah.
I love board games. I think it's a great way of getting somebody separated from that device and connecting with people. Also, in that competitive setup, that would be one of my ideas. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, that there are some others, but I think this is such an important thing, and I hope that your next video is going to be something to the effect of that.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, I actually have a video coming out today, and I just kind of talk about setting the phones aside. And I was on a podcast where it was with two guys. It was a dad podcast, and one
Yeah.
of the guys, I talked about putting your phone away at dinner so that you can connect with your family. And he said, yeah, we have that problem. I'm like, but you're in control of it. Your kids aren't going to say, hey, dad, let's put away our phones.
Yeah.
You kind of got to set the standard to say, this is how we're going to do it in our home. We're going to set 30 minutes aside, put away the phones, and we're going to connect with each other. Because if you're not, if you don't make that point to do that, life passes you by and go, I wish I would have done that. Well, you know what? You missed that window that you had your kids at home.
When I look at your channel, Rob, do you not also feel that there are a lot of young dads who need some guidance as dads too? Because I know your angle is the kids who don't have dads, but those kids who don't have dads are now dads. So do you not feel like there is a platform or an opportunity there to chat to those younger dads or the modern dads and chat them through some of these skills to almost promote the modern stuff, the tech, but the balance and the moderation in that sphere, so that they are still present and able to activate their kids in a social setting?
Absolutely. No, I think so when my channel first came out, people said, "Oh, this is for young men," and it's like, I don't. Let's not pigeonhole it. I think it's more for anybody and everybody that maybe didn't have a good example, or I had recently, I joke about this because I had a grandma come on and say, "I'm your 80-year-old kid." She says to me, "Thanks for helping me fix my toilet seat." So it's my subscribers are all ages, all countries. Recently, Brazil, for some reason, it went viral in Brazil. So I gained like 40,000 subscribers in just a
Wow.
couple days, everybody putting up their Brazilian flags. So the flip side of my channel going viral is the fact that it's so needed. And that's a little heartbreaking to me. People, I get caught up in the comments of people sharing the stories of the stuff, the hurt that they've gone through, and that's hard. That's hard. I'm just one man trying to do the best I can. I can't carry that burden around. I want people to feel heard, and I want to, have compassion on people. But it's a little overwhelming for one man. I'm a man of faith, so thankfully I don't feel like I have to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders.
That is beautiful. And as we head into Father's Day in South Africa, what are some of, in your opinion, the struggles of the modern day father, call it that, or a father in 2021? I'm sure you've seen the comments. I mean, your following is absolutely massive. And I'm sure people have reached out to you as fathers and have said, hey, I'm struggling with this. What are some of those common narratives that you've been picking up on?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is, a lot of people had a bad example and they want to do better, but they don't necessarily know how, and I that's one of the things I share. Reason I share my backstory is because I kind of had to, figure this thing out myself, because I didn't have the greatest example myself. But I also try to encourage people not to play the victim card. People have legitimate victim cards. I think we all do to some extent, whether some are bigger than others, but really it gets you nowhere in life if you continue to go, but because of that in my past 15 years ago, I'm not going to do this. Well, you're in control of that. You can kind of take control back of your life so that you can do the best you can. One of the things I try to share too is to think long term about your decisions, and I am trying to make trying to call men to, to be, hey, it's cool being a dad. It is cool. I loved every minute of it. I'm sad that it's kind of over. I still am involved with my kids, but every moment was awesome, and it's here and gone. It happens so quick. And so I'm trying to encourage men, if men are visually stimulated, so we tend to run after shiny objects. I'll put it that way, just to say, so that we don't get too far into the weeds. But there are things that we tend to, and I was like, think long term about that, because I was 14 when my dad left, and then I was 18, then I was 25. I'm in my mid 50 or late 50s now, 57. But time goes by so quick. So please think long term about your decisions, because if you leave, somebody's left holding the bag. Somebody's left to clean up the mess that you thought, oh, I'm just done, I can't take it. Well, you know what? There's there's something going on. And my brother, in my case, I went to live with my brother, and so he had to kind of clean up the mess that my dad had left.
If I were to ask you the best bit of advice that you've received to be a better dad, if you could reflect for a second, what would that be?
I it's hard to say, always say one thing, because there's so much. It goes back to understanding that your kids are with you for such a short amount of time. I always tried to make sure to ask my kids for forgiveness along the way, because I was learning as they were learning. I was doing the best I could, and there's times where I might have snapped at them. I think you got to make sure to keep that connection. It's so important to keep that connection, because if you don't, over time, pretty soon they're walking this way and you're walking this way. And, I think you got to constantly come back and reconnect and say, hey, I want what's best for you. I'm doing the best I can. And you got to understand, please, I want what's best for you. And that's why I won't let you do this, or why, so you kind of give them a why so that they understand. But you're not going to do it perfect. Nobody does. And your kids, when they're little and you go to work and you're stuck in traffic and you have a bad day and you come home and stuck in traffic and you're, you might snap at your kids. The kids don't understand. Why is dad crabby? So I think it's important to reconnect and to say, hey, I didn't handle that very well, and then give them a little bit more as they get older, continue to fill them in on maybe some of the struggles that you're dealing with as an adult too, so that they're prepared as best as they can.
Rob, I think you've prepared so many dads listening and watching us right now with so many great pearls of wisdom. And there was a big method to my madness calling you up. I know South Africa to the US. It may seem quite strange, but I definitely look up to dads like you who are willing to take action. I think that's one of the big words for me in terms of dads. And you touched on something so powerful. I think that it's a matter of vulnerability. I don't think enough men actually face their vulnerability because society says that men always have to be strong. But your kids need to see your moments of weakness too, so that they know how to deal with those moments. And for me, that was probably the best thing that I picked up from your stories here today, is that you have to ask for that forgiveness. It's not a weak thing, to ask for forgiveness. You're actually just showing your kids that they will make mistakes. It doesn't mean that it's over from there. It means that they have the power within them to ask for that forgiveness and showcase the fact that the best apology is changed behavior, and that we are always evolving. There's never, I'm a dad, I've made it. We keep on learning, and I keep on learning from videos like yours.
I think you said it very well, though. I think, yeah, we feel like it's a weakness if you're vulnerable, but ultimately, your kids are going to find out that you don't have it all together. When they're young, you can you can pretend or you can fool them, but once they get to a certain age, wait a second, dad thought he thought he knew this, and so I think it's important to get ahead of that.
Yeah.
That's what I did, because I knew, and I think if you still try to keep up this charade that you've got it all together when they get into their teen years, and you still try to keep that up, I think that causes rebellion, because people, kids are smart and they say, well, dad's saying one thing and he's doing another. I think that's so important. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Switchfoot too. This is something that just popped into my head that I absolutely love. And they have a song that says, is this the world you want? Well, you're making it every day you're alive. A lot of times we can get caught up in, that person and this person. But if we each took care of our own little thing, the world would be a much better place, because, instead of pointing fingers, point fingers at your own self and see what you can do to make the world a better place.
I love this conversation. I feel like this should have been a podcast. It probably will be later, but I love the fact that we can be so candid on something that's so important. Because the thing is, we have so many titles in society, don't we? Yet we don't just get down to the fact that we are human beings, being human, and our kids will see that, as you said, and that's okay. They need to see that, because how else are you going to raise humans? And I just think that it's so powerful that we can have this conversation, but more importantly, that you have taken a step that a lot of people need to, because in South Africa, there's a little African saying, and that is, it takes a village to raise a child. Essentially, it means that so many influences are here to mold a human being. And that includes us being honest with ourselves and showcasing our humanity to these young minds, so that they can see how it's done and how it's not done, how it's repaired and how it's progressed. And I think that's what I found from your entire story, Rob. This is why I'm talking to you, to actually just say a massive thank you to you for being a man who is human, stepping up and inspiring other humans.
Well, thank you so much, Carl. That's very, very kind of you. I'm just trying to do the best I can. I've been called the internet's dad. I shy away from that, because, if somebody else calls me that, that's one thing. But who am I? I'm the internet's dad. Look at me.
Hey.
I'm just trying to be faithful and do the best I can. I do want to share with you a little bit about my book, because I think people are confused about what my book is actually about, because it's going under a DIY. They're calling it a DIY, but actually the first part of it is how I forgave my dad. And then I'm one of 8 kids. I'm number 7. And when I turned 50, I went around to each of my siblings, because my dad left. And so I kind of had to rely on my siblings, and we had to bond together. And so I share a character trait that I learned from each of my siblings. And so I walk you through, and you get to meet my siblings in a sense. And I just talk about, my brother's Rick's work ethic, my brother Tim standing up, having a backbone. It's important to have a backbone. You need, you don't want to just go through life living somebody else's life. You need to live your own life, And so the first part is practical advice like that. And then the second part is I also give you a lot of how-tos, a lot of financial type how-tos. So I see it kind of almost, people are saying it's a Father's Day gift. I could see it also as as a graduation gift, somebody going off to school. And this is because I'm trying to encourage you with sharing, what I've kind of been through in my own life. So you get to know me a little bit better, but also I'm trying to guide you, trying to pass some wisdom along to you for your own life. So it's got 20, so it's just been out a couple weeks. It's got 24 reviews, and all of them are 5 stars on Amazon. Because I think people are understanding what the book is about, right? It's not just a how-to. It's I'm trying to empower you, trying to give you some life lessons that I learned the hard way.
I need to make sure that it's down in Cape Town, South Africa. There are so many dads who could benefit from this book. And I think the entire world should have a little piece of this book as well, because I think by what you are saying, you are inspiring other people to share their narrative, because that's learning, isn't it? Learning is sharing, and sharing is learning.
Yeah. And again, as a man of faith, I think I'm called to love God and love people. And I love people. Sometimes it's a little hard to love people. But I have always loved people's backstories. Everybody's got a story. I think it's interesting. I can sit and just listen to, oh, okay, so that's, where did you come? Where did you live? All that. I think people are fascinating if you take the time to actually listen to them. And we're so busy, we don't take the time to listen.
Well, I've listened to you now, and I see that you're not stopping. You still have so much ambition around this. So book is out, and I'm sure you're going to continue these videos. You spoke about the one around social media and the phone and putting that away. Any other skill videos you're planning to show? Perhaps pick up lines, how to get the significant other in your life? I'm just asking for a friend.
I love it. I've had people come on my channel and say, or make comments, can you do that? How do I meet a woman, or what have you? I don't know. I don't know how that would come across on my channel.
How do I
don't know. And the funny thing is because of my background, I was a decent looking guy when I was younger, when I had hair. But I was always really shy, as I was, so I was a little intimidated because of my family situation. I was embarrassed, and so I'm not necessarily the greatest guy at knowing how to meet women, to be honest with you. It was always a struggle for me.
Well, I think whatever you put out on your channel next is going to be equally as impactful as the next video from I actually, prior to this interview, I went through as many of the videos as I could, and each one's treated with an equal amount of care. Each one is, I think the word is conviction. It means that you even though the platform's huge and the subscriber numbers are huge and the book is out, I do enjoy somebody who has conviction, somebody who is doing something because they actually really care about it. That is what I see from your videos. And this is why people like you will always go viral, for the right reasons.
Well, that means a lot to me. Thank you so much for the kind words. That's very encouraging. I'm just trying to remain faithful and try to do the best I can. It's an interesting thing. My life is kind of a little surreal. I just did I had a dad chat, just a short dad chat with Kevin Hart the other day. Are you familiar with Kevin Hart? He's a famous comedian.
Him and I are the same size, actually. Kevin Hart and I, we're both shorties. So okay. So we have a connection in that way. And what was the chat like with Kevin Hart?
Yeah, it was just, so he's got a movie coming out on Netflix, so they wanted me to have just a quick, as a kind of a promo thing for them. I'll put that up on my channel next Friday. But kind of running in those circles is weird for me. I'm a bit of an introvert. I was just trying to help people, and here I'm talking on these national TV shows. I was on the Today Show and Good Morning America. Nice. So it's weird. It's really a little bit. I have to almost compartmentalize it because I want to maintain who I am. I don't want to think I'm better than anybody else. I'm just trying to help people. And yet at the same time, I come on these shows where I'm talking to these people that everybody admires, and I have to act like I belong. And so trying to mentally navigate that has been a bit of a challenge.
I can only imagine. And I'm sure when Kevin Hart discussed his dad, Dwayne Johnson, it must have been quite compelling.
Nice.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes. But it was only a only a couple minutes, but
No,
yeah,
no,
it was only a
that's
couple
all.
minutes of a dad chat. So, but it was fun. Still pretty cool. I got to talk to Kevin Hart. I mean,
Right.
he's hilarious. I've always had respect for the man.
Well done. I've been trying to get an interview with Kevin Hart for ages. Based on the height, I've been trying to slid into his DMs, nothing. But I'm glad that you got it up, and I'm looking forward to that video being posted. But
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, keep on going. You do have support in South Africa. I can guarantee you that. A lot of people have been watching you very attentively and learning from you. And I think that's one thing that the pandemic has brought to us is a certain collective understanding that we are all human. And by so understanding, we also are saying we can all be part of a network. Doesn't matter. You could be in the USA, I could be in Cape Town, South Africa, but it doesn't mean that we're different. It doesn't mean that we are, geographically separated by some cultural divides. Yes, they may be there, but through this communication, if we share like this, we'll have everything we'll ever need.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been, I've been on, I haven't actually been on a Zoom call with anybody in the Philippines. I know I got a lot of, a lot of followers there, but it's all over the place. The UK, and like I said, Brazil, and then Korea. It's all, it's a global thing. Yeah, so it's interesting. I hope to one day, down the road, meet people, actually, fly to South Africa and actually meet some people from there. I think that would be as much fun for me as it would be for the people that I meet. I think because I can't wait to down the road see what people have accomplished, just because they needed a little bit of love and a little nudge to feel like they could accomplish great things.
Well, I can almost guarantee you that the responses are going to come through thick and fast on this chat. And if you're ever down in Cape Town, South Africa, this is where the radio station is. This is where I do TV down here too. But more importantly, showing you the sights and sounds of Cape Town. It's going to be very difficult going back home, just letting you know.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
that's a pretty big sales pitch then.
Well, I'm here. I'm here to sell. The only thing that we do have here that you'll probably have heard about maybe is that there's something called load shedding that we have. And what load shedding is actually doing is, so we have a power grid, and the power grid switches off to alleviate the stress in the power grid. So every now and then for 2 hours, all the lights go off in certain areas in the area that I live in, Western Cape. So as a result, just to our first point on the next video about getting off the phones, it's a lot easier when there's no electricity. People are forced into romantic dinners because it's candlelit anyway.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I don't know how much time we have left, but I got to just tell you a quick story if you got a second.
No, go for it.
So my son. So I went to Central Washington University, eons ago.
Okay.
And there was one place to live there, an apartment complex on campus, and everybody was outside. It was crazy, it was the place to go and hang out, if you wanted to meet people. So fast forward 30 or so years, and my son's there, and I said, "Oh, you're going to love this. I'm going to get you in the best, you're going to love it." He goes there and nobody's outside. Nobody. They're everybody's inside, playing Candy Crush, like you said, they're nobody. And so my son goes outside with a buddy, and he said, "Let's play catch with the football." So they start throwing the football around, and then they broke a window. And so they went to the guy responsible for that, the groundskeeper, and said, "Hey, we just want to apologize. We broke this window." And the guy said, "You know what? Don't worry about it. I'm happy to see people playing outside." Yeah, that's how rare it is. That was so, it's a little sad though, because it's like, so I love the fact that you guys shut it down. You're forced to have, what? We got to talk. We actually got to talk face to face. What's that?
That's exactly it.
I love it.
That is exactly it. And it's a beautiful thing, because this is why I brought up board games earlier. You get to connect. And do you not think there's something beautiful about candlelight, that open fire that brings people together?
Yeah, I think people long for that type of stuff, and yet they don't know that they have the power within themselves to make that decision to do that. we get so busy in life and doing different things, and it's like, hey, wait a second, I have the power. You can turn off the power yourself. You don't need somebody else to turn it off. You can make the choice as a parent or what have you to say, hey, tonight we're shutting everything down and we're gonna connect. What a cool concept. I love that. People long for those days of that type of stuff and don't know that they actually have the power within themselves to do it.
I'm so happy that you are probably the most positive person around load shedding in South Africa that I've ever met. Thank you, Rob.
Well, you put a positive spin on it.
Well,
I think
I am
so.
a positive guy. I mean, that's why
Yeah,
I love
I like
positivity. I'm always going to spin it that way. And I think I think positivity is it's a vehicle for me. Like I ride it all the way through every single circumstance because as human beings, we harp on the negativity too often. I feel like we are programmed that way because of our upbringing. We always say, oh my word, I was so bad at that show. I stuttered that word. I did this. Instead of saying, hey, I pitched up, I got the camera on, and I did an interview with somebody inspiring. Yes. So I want positivity to be the narrative. And I think this is why I feel like you and I have a good connection, because your positivity has got you viral. The entire world, if you think about the way news channels operate, negativity makes those stories viral. And this is our opportunity to get positivity out there and make it even more viral than the negativity that this world has to offer.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's absolutely true. And, it's funny because, there's a talk of a TV show, Carl. I got a few different people approaching about a TV show. But so here's one funny thing is I heard back from the production company about one network turning me down because I was too nice. I thought, oh my goodness, if that's the reason why they don't want me to, because I don't have drama, we don't have drama. And a lot of times, like you said, on the news, that's what sells or what people are, want to see. When in reality, I think long term, Mr. Rogers, maybe he wasn't appreciated so much until after he was gone. But that I'd rather have that be my legacy, and maybe not live to see it rather than, sell out and try to create drama just to get views or just to get people interested. I want to continue to remain wholesome and do the best I can to try to encourage other people to as well.
Preacher, meet choir. Nice to meet you. Thank you. It's all over. It's in this industry that I'm in right now. It's like, oh, you should be edgier. You should really go out there but why? Why'd I have to be edgier? Also, your kids are watching you. We are literally showcasing to them what impact they can have with positivity. Instead of me saying, hey, let's take a thing like load shedding, and I want to take the government to task right now. I want to get the president on the line, and I'm going to say, stop it, president, and then I'm going to swear at some celebrity, and I don't like the drama. I think people have enough of it. 2020, that was the drama you wanted. Enjoy it. I'm done with that.
Well, I love your attitude, Carl. I feel like we're connected souls for sure. Indeed. I think whatever we can do to make this world a better place, I think I'm all in to try to.
Well, thank you for agreeing to chatting to me. It's really, really, I was so happy when I heard that you said yes. So thank you so much. As soon as your book arrives, I mean, we could order that on Amazon, I'm sure, and it could be delivered from the US to South Africa. If it's not here already in some corner. But
I don't know that. There is the Kindle version available.
Okay, awesome. Too. That's cool.
So there's a Kindle version. There's also, I recorded. So this is another funny thing. We could go on and on. I probably need to wrap it up, but I did do it. I did an audio version too.
What?
Yeah. So they asked me. Yeah. So they asked me if I would be willing to read it, and it's not something I've ever done. And but I thought it would be weird to have somebody else read my story. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And reading about when I was reading it, I had to take 5 a couple times and cry because forgiving my dad was very difficult for me, and I share that in the book. That was several years before I finally came to grips with it and realized it was in my own best interest to forgive him. And then also sharing my brother Don and his generosity towards me as a young man, keeping us connected, even though we lived in separate places. He was a senior in high school and I was a sophomore, and he used to go out of his way to come over and pick me up. He would drive past our high school, come over, pick me up, drive back. And as a senior in high school, that's pretty mature for a senior in high school to get up early, have the discipline to go over and pick up his kid brother. And so that was another, during both of those, I had to say, hey, I got to stop and cry a little bit, which is a little embarrassing in front of people I didn't know, a couple of grown men. It was like, but this is just too much emotionally for me. So so I think I'm glad I did it, but it was an interesting experience to actually record an audiobook.
Well, I'm glad that we have some sort of access to it because we do need it. And just ahead of Father's Day, I want to say to you, Rob, happy Father's Day, and thank you for being who you are to the world.
You bet. Happy Father's Day to you too, Carl. And thanks
you
for having me on.
Anytime. Have a wonderful day. I know you still got the entire day ahead of you. It's what time is it on your side?
Yeah, it's almost 11 in the morning.
Okay. It is outside. It's almost 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay. So you still got a candlelight dinner ahead of you.
Okay, you know what? I just heard that load shedding has been suspended tonight. So it means that I can actually watch the start of the UEFA Euros. So thank goodness.
Well, you do have the power to shut the power off still, Carl. Just remember that. You don't have to rely on the government to do that for you.
So true. I'm taking that with me. You are going to be the positivity ambassador for load shedding in South Africa when we're done here. That's great. But Rob, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day today. And I will be tagging you when this goes live on my show. I will be tagging you if you don't mind. And I also wanted to ask your consent. This Zoom call, do you mind if I post it on the KFM platforms as a little resource? Is that okay?
Of course. Yeah, do whatever. And if we want to do a podcast in the future, I'm open to that too.
It's a yes from me. That is because I feel like there's a very good connection that you and I have here. And there are some very, very cool things. And I've a major in psychology too, which is something that I bring to the table. And I think we could really make a fantastic difference chatting about a whole lot of different things, especially two dads from separate timelines and separate places in the world. How beautiful would that be to come together and share? I think that'll be so powerful.
Right.
Let's do it.
I agree. Okay.
have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And thank you so much. Well, morning for your side and evening on my side. But thank you very much for agreeing to do this. I really appreciate it.
You bet. It was nice talking to you, Carl.